everybody. This is Dr. Forth. If you've ever been panic-stricken when you're getting ready for the first test in a class with a professor you've never had before, and they didn't give you a study guide. Well, some faculty give study guides and some do not, but the students always want them. I'm going to show you how to make your own so you'll never feel stuck and worried again. So let's go ahead and get started. There's lots of different types of study guides, and study guides are a recent development in academia. Previously, it was understood that anything talked about in class, found in the reading assignments, or covered in written material was fair game for testing day. And as you work towards preparing your study guide, it's probably a good idea to make that assumption as well. Sometimes the faculty create their own and they'll give you a list of questions, and the testing material will be from this list of questions. Or maybe they give you a list of concepts and you have to kind of flesh those out and figure out what it's going to be. I'm going to show you how to make your own study guide regardless of the circumstance. And like all of the other study tools that I've talked about, it's actually the making of the study guide that's going to be the valuable learning experience for you. So sometimes in class, the faculty will make their own exams, and you have a pretty good idea of what's going to be on it just from how they talk in class. Oh, this is very important. Make sure you know this, or this was a critical thing for whatever concept. That gives you an idea of what they think is important. But lots of classes now are testing either with a test bank from the publisher or test banks that are made by third-party companies. Yes, there are companies that their job is to essentially create test questions over certain topics. Those particular questions are vetted and checked out with statistical analysis to make sure that they are accurate reflections of the material and hopefully good test questions that are clear, that are actually asking about what specifically the subject content is. Those are supposed to be better, and a lot of schools in lots of different subject areas are moving to that kind of idea. And I guess it makes sense because if you think about in a given college department, there might be multiple faculty teaching the same classes. Well, it should be an equivalent experience no matter which particular faculty you have. So for fairness to the students and also to make sure that we have good coverage of the material, they try and make sure that the subject matter and testing is equivalent throughout those sections. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that sort of testing process. In order to be successful in the class, in addition to, of course, attending the lecture section, it's very important to attend and at least listen, ideally take some good notes. You need to read the text. I know everybody says that, but really, this is an important tool. At least skim the materials. So there are lots of tools in your textbook that can be helpful to you in picking out topics for your study guide. Textbooks usually have a list of objectives or topics at the beginning of the chapter. Take those objectives or topics and create an outline for your study guide. And then you're going to fill in the outline with material from your notes and PowerPoints. In my classes, all my PowerPoints are up on Blackboard or Canvas. Some people are oddly secretive about their PowerPoints. I don't get that. It's not like the students are going to, sell the PowerPoints, but hopefully you're in a class where you have access to the PowerPoints. If not, of course, you'll take really good notes in class, and I've noticed in my classes, some of the students are taking screenshots with the PowerPoint before I told them, hey, you don't need to do it. The PowerPoint is on Canvas. Unless, of course, your faculty has told you not to do that, in which case, probably don't do it. You don't want to get in trouble. You'll have to rely on your notes in that case. So you've got your list of topics or objectives from the textbook, and you're going to fill it in with your notes and PowerPoints and so forth. Sometimes there's new terms introduced in the chapter. You can add the list and their little definitions, put them under the objective or subject heading to which they refer. So you've got your little terminology added to the appropriate sections. In the textbooks, very often there are subject headings in bold to divide different sections of the reading. I always appreciated that because I personally am not a big reader of the textbook. So at least I could kind of keep myself focused with those little headings. So those headings can be added right to your outline, and you know generally what it's talking about. So you're going to add salient points or little details from those sections. Remember that you're writing a study guide, not a novel. So you don't have to write down absolutely everything, because then that study guide, which is supposed to be a little outline or a slightly embellished outline, it's just got too much material. You should be able to look at it and kind of trigger your brain to remember those topics. So don't get all bogged down. If you have too much detail to add, put that in your notes. That's where the detail should go. Okay? So you've got your outline, you've used the topic headings throughout the test, and there's usually a summary of the chapter or end of the chapter questions, and you can use those to create study questions. So once you've created your outline and filled it in, then you go and you refine it according to the things that your faculty have emphasized, right? You might put a little bit more detail on those items or star it. You would also, as I said, you're making your own study guide because that's helping you to learn the material. You can add pictures, copy from the internet, or even better, make your own little drawings that are meaningful to you. Okay, stick figures are wonderful, little silly drawings that you attach certain meaning to. You can also use colors and symbols to indicate things like you do in your notes. Once you've got that all done, you've gathered your faculty's emphasized points, then you can make some study questions. Now, this is where AI becomes useful for you. I know you could ask the AI to make a study guide. I know this because I've tried it to see what it looks like. And my experience was the study guide from AI was way too detailed. It was like reproducing the entire chapter. That's not useful as a study guide. That's called just rereading the chapter. So I didn't find that to be useful. But once you've got your study guide made and you've added your little emphasis points, then you can use your study guide to have AI generate some practice questions for you and treat those practice questions like a little quiz. Yes? And so you can make it, multiple choice, true, false, matching, short answer, whatever kind of questions your faculty likes to use. Just remember that when you're making the study guide, this is not going to be just a list of questions that you memorize. Ideally, if you've done a good job with it, you're going to have an outline of the material with various points of emphasis. And no matter what the questions are, you can answer them because you're going to be well prepared. So the next time you hear that, oh, it's time for test, and this test is worth 30 or 40% of your grade, don't panic. Now you know how to make your own study guide. So if this was helpful to you, please go ahead and like and subscribe and put in the comments any other topics that you would like to hear about in the future. I look forward to seeing you at my next episode.